Hey, and welcome back. We're back on the podcast. It's been a very long time since the last time. I know you've all missed us. I missed you, Andreas, a lot.
Oh, I'm happy to hear that. I actually
I was
didn't
just
miss you
kidding.
as much, but I
I was
missed
just
making
kidding.
this podcast. Nah, we don't make jokes in this podcast.
No jokes.
100% serious at Gamebread is what we
Gamebread,
are.
all of us. Yeah, you can. It's all about being serious.
Yeah, yeah. And
You've
I
been
think,
away a little bit, haven't you? You've been at home, south of Sweden.
yeah, I've been home visiting my family and stuff. Making sure I survived the transition from 2019 to 2020. Feels weird
Oh
saying
yeah.
2020. That doesn't work. No, you gotta say 2020, I think.
I don't even want to talk about it. I'm not. I'm very, very not interested in this conversation. Didn't we have this conversation in the last podcast?
Yeah, I had this weird deja vu. So, but yeah, I survived. I was in south of Sweden, and now I'm back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great. Amazing. Yeah, so start of the new year, some gaming news actually. Do you mind if I bring some up?
Nah, go ahead. Go for it.
All right, cool. Actually, one of the ones that I picked up just a couple of days ago was that the new Doom trailer was released, and that's pretty big. It's also one of the big franchises through recent gaming history. It's definitely one of my old favorites because it came out when the PC gaming era really started happening in the mid 90s or so. Don't have to go into specific details, but I mean, you have to understand that wasn't much going on otherwise, visually and presentation wise, story wise, and all these kind of things. Doom was one of the you know really the pillars of modern gaming history. Specifically, well, you had the setting of kind of space marines finding hell and demons, and this is like action gameplay with shotguns, and it was 3D. And of course, you couldn't aim up and down in the whole game, but it was still spectacular. Just gore, and it had a music score of like heavy metal inspired music, and it's pretty cool. Do you have any connections to Doom yourself?
Actually, like Doom, I played much later. The first in that genre that I played was Wolfenstein 3D and Marathon, if you know
Oh
them
yeah,
like
oh
that.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah. I mean, those games. That's a whole podcast for each of those games as
Indeed.
well. Yeah, I mean, a good old ID software. It was good stuff. It's that type of engine where you could actually move in 3D, sort of 3D. It was still 2D, but you were kind of moving in it. The textures was 2D, and it's not going to get too technical about it, but fun games and amazing action and some good story in there.
Yeah, I
Yeah, and
mean it
my
was
actually my go
also
ahead.
it was also something completely new when it came, right? It kind of blew the world away with the gameplay in itself.
Yeah, I mean, and there are so many articles and blogs about what game actually was the first. There are a couple of those like Hexen and these kind of type of games that were around, and as you mentioned, Marathon, and of course Wolfenstein being again, we could say that it's one of the, we can say that it's the first one. There are a couple of ones that might have preceded it slightly, but they're pale in comparison to those two. Uh, I remember so specifically going home to my friend who had Doom and showed me Doom, and I was hooked because you got high powered weapons and you blew heads off, and it's so cool. It was also my first LAN experience. I think we also covered that before. Duke Nukem was my first like mobile online. Sorry, not mobile. Modem online gaming experience, and this was my first LAN because you could actually play it in LAN, and you could do player versus player matches, which is also quite unique at the time with those type of graphics. And I'm just gonna skip forward a lot, so I don't need to go deep into it because it's more about them actually releasing another trailer. Is that they did one reboot some 10 years ago that was really more of a almost survival horror type game, which also was very ahead of its time visually. And but it got a lot. It didn't get super good reviews because it was dark and heavy and slow, um, and a lot of jump scares. And but it did flesh out the hell in space kind of thing, which is super intriguing to me. That's also why I like that old movie, Event Horizon.
Okay.
Event
I haven't seen
Horizon.
it. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, yeah, you should. It's really good. It has Sam. See, my brain doesn't work today. It's the guy from Jurassic Park. Anyway,
Okay.
with these guys, a lot of people say it's just ripped from Doom. It's not the Doom movie, which I can mention later, but it also has the you have kind of astronauts or and scientists going into space, and they're trying to find out what happened to Event Horizon. And what happened there was that the crew started going crazy, and at least the captain went crazy. And because they found a portal, they had a device, and they opened up a portal, and it's supposedly some kind of the actual what actually hell could be if it's like another dimension, and this, so to try to make it real instead of religious. And they started. Well, I'm not going to spoil too much. See the movie; it's awesome. It's awesome.
Will do. Will do. I mean,
Yeah,
you had me at Sam and Hell in Space, I think.
yep, yep. It's terrible that I can't remember the last name. I've said it millions of times, and I don't know, thousands of times at least in my life. He's a cool actor. But anyway, back to the topic. No, so they made that. I like that game actually, even though it was slow. Sorry. So fast forward more years, and of course you had, like I said, like I mentioned, you had the Doom movie. It had The Rock in it. It was pretty bad. I saw it in the movies and the theaters. It was pretty bad.
Who do
But
you
today,
know who made that? Because it almost felt like a Uwe Ball movie.
wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go and Google it right now. If you're listening to this and just post it, and that'll be fun.
Is it a Uwe Ball
I've seen.
movie? Yes or no?
Yeah, exactly. Yes or no. Well, today actually I've seen it in recent years, and it isn't that bad because now I can kind of see it as what it is. But at the time, it was like a 2005 movie or something, and they had to bring in gaming elements visually that all of a sudden you go into this first person view, and it's really strange. But seeing it today, it's not too bad. A little bit anticlimactic towards the end, but a lot of game movies are. But fast forward, and all of a sudden, a couple, what was it now? Like 4 years ago, maybe. The last Doom came out, and that's an actual, like, not even a reboot, but it's a reimagination of the original one. They stripped out all that junk, the heavy and the slow and a lot of plot. So now it's like, okay, there's hell in space. We got space marines, and you got this guy, and here we go. That's about it. Same thing when you start up. It's like you wake up, here's your gun, there's demons, shoot them, and you run around shooting more of them. And some of the elements are kind of like Unreal Tournament E, that there's platform levels that you're running around, and set pieces, and there's tons of, and they're just increasing the difficulty with these mobs. So more and more on the big ones for every room kind of stuff. And that's one of those 3 out of 5 games to me. I thoroughly enjoyed it for the gameplay. I thought it was lacking kind of in that lore space and a little bit more of the seriousness, but you could do some cool stuff like decapitations and all these things, jump around, double jumping, rocket jumping, and whatever you want to do.
Yeah, but it
Yeah,
also had that really fast pace, right?
super
Because
fast pace.
because when
Yeah,
I think of Doom, that's what I think of. I think of the high-paced gameplay because when you first played Doom back in the days, you were really surprised of how fast the game was. Like at least that's my memory of it, and the same kind of goes a little bit for Wolfenstein, but it was just Doom was so fast, and you were kind of used to the games where when you were moving in that kind of room for room style or like corridors, that kind of stuff. It was like a slideshow when you took a step, and then when Doom came out, at least for me, that jump was so huge because it was so fast and fluent. And
no, it's good.
this kind of gives me the same impression
Sure.
that it had that, the fast boom action and just things exploding everywhere and shooting and carnage, etc. So
And you know what? I think games got slower because they added more animation, and because a certain amount of frames per second, you had to make it more and a little bit more realistic. I think the term is for games
yeah,
that
like
came out kind of.
fluent
Yeah,
animations. Yeah.
because it is in Doom. There's a little walk, Bob. There's a little bob going on, but that's about it. I can't even remember if that's in the first game. I know it's in the second. It's a slight bob, but then it's super fast because you're just moving across a plane, like a set plane. So they brought that back, which was to a lot of people refreshing because you had 10 years of games that were more realistic and more immersive. And like I said, I just 3 out of 5. It's a good game, and I thought it was amazing that they actually did an actual reimagination in recent time instead of doing, like, for example, Wolfenstein has done the same thing, but they have made it almost even more realistic to the point of there's tons of animation, there's cutscenes, and there are little puzzle things that you do,
Yeah, it's more of
and even
a
heavier in textures and models.
yeah, like more of a cinematic experience. It's definitely a big part of what makes the new Wolfenstein's games good. It's not because they are like their predecessors, I think.
Agree. So now they dropped the trailer of this one, of the new one, and it looks pretty much exactly the same as the previous one, and I think that's a good thing for them because I think they found what they want to do, and I'm looking forward to playing it. I just need to set aside a little bit of time because I'm kind of, I don't know if you, for you that have been listening to a couple of these, I've hinted towards that I kind of like a more maybe a more cinematic, more stylized experience where play too much because I suck. And this is that type of game that if you suck, then you're gonna have to replay a lot of things which happened in the previous game. So just need to set aside a couple of weekends, I guess, and play through it. I'm looking forward to buying it. Are you gonna be buying it, Andreas?
I don't know. Like FPS games, it's not my thing anymore. Not even like I'd love to play it, but I don't think I can. Actually, I'm not gonna buy it. I don't think it's just not my cup of tea anymore.
Okay.
But
So
I'd love to try it just for trying it and like spend maybe a couple of hours with it, get a feel for it, that kind of stuff.
sounds good. Uh, Let us know if you guys that are listening are going to get it or if you're not, and what you think about the whole series and these new games. Check out the trailer, though. I'm going to put it in the video here when we post this to YouTube, so you can watch it there unless you have already seen it. It looks pretty cool. And outside of that, holidays have come and gone, and something else that I'm looking forward to is there's some more news coming out of one of my top 5 games, which is quite interesting. I am mainly a PC player, but some of my better games that I enjoy are on the console, but they're few and far apart. So one of them is Last of Us, which is just an amazing game. I mean, you go and play that game if you have not, if you have the possibility. It's super good. I don't think anybody dislikes it. Some people don't like that type of game where it's long, quite deep story and gameplay is quite slow. It's not an action game at all. It's a sneaky game, and but it tells one of the most amazing stories I played in any game, experience in any game ever. It's an apocalyptic game, a zombie type game where you have people that are infected, and you're it's the game starts out with you trying to save your daughter and not making it, and then teams up with one of the other protagonists of the game, which is a young girl, and they become the two characters you play, not counting the DLC, which I also played, which is also excellent, by the way. And how they interact and how they survive in this world and how they try to overcome their hardships. And they also, for me, it's at least I can relate to how it would feel to be in that situation. They play that story well, tell the story well, and it's very intense when you are fighting and trying to get away from these infected, because they can't see well but they can hear extremely well, and they make these awful noises if you have to creep through them. So the number 2 is coming out. There's a few videos of some trailers out already. Go check those out. Amazing. um it's from one of my favorite studios
It's a good
of
studio.
all time. It's a good. Which studio is it?
Naughty Dog.
Yeah, Naughty Dog. Naughty Dog makes the best games. I
Yeah.
don't understand how they do it. Some of my favorite games. Super
Yeah,
good.
and even probably like the Jack and Daxter series are their probably their worst series of the ones I've played, but it's still really good. And
Yeah,
so that's saying a lot.
yeah, yeah. 100% professional. Super good. And I'm so excited for this game. Waited a long time. The first game came out, which I keep forgetting, to the PS3.
Yeah. Do you want to hear
Yeah,
a
and then
hot
they
take, by the way?
go ahead.
I played The Last of Us and I liked it, but I don't think it is as great as people say. That's a
This
hot take.
podcast is hereby over.
Yeah, no, but I really love the story. I love the setting. All of that, I think, is really good. I just find that the gameplay becomes a little bit too monotone for me after a while.
You know, I can agree to a point. It's what I also, which is also Naughty Dog, which is Uncharted. It's just kind of like it kind of drags on towards the end because the mechanics are quite because they're not action games. When you have an
Yeah,
action game and action is solid, then it doesn't matter how long the game is because it's just fun to like make cool stuff happen. But when you don't, after a certain amount of time, you're doing the same. Like sneaking, for example, becomes to me also it doesn't give me much. So it's the same thing like for Uncharted. When you've done your, I don't know, 35th climbing sequence and the same stuff, something falls and it's like, oh, and you have to do it again and again. Same with Jedi Knight or Fallen Order, same thing. It kind of gets stale. So I agree with you on that. So that's
yeah,
maybe
and
something I'll
that's
improve
like
on.
my only. I think it wasn't like the game is never criticized, so I think it's fair to say that that is the only that needs to be said as well. That sometimes, for me at least, it could be a little bit monotone. But it's just as you said, it's the same with um, not The Last of Us. What is the other one called for PS3 that they made?
Uncharted.
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 Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Uncharted was the same.
Which
Crash
is something
Bandicoot,
that,
however, Crash Bandicoot 1,
oh, yeah.
2, and 3, that was amazing all the way through. Amazing games. Probably one of my favorite series of all time.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, because I wasn't in consoles in that era, but you can play a little bit in it in the latest Uncharted.
Oh, really?
They actually, yeah, yeah. He plays it with his fiance or wife. I can't remember, whatever. But they play it together in one of the sequences, and you get to actually play it.
Huh.
So that's how I got exposed. It's kind of I like those little things.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
kind of Inception, gaming, game stuff. I like that. Like ID does that as well with
Kojima is
Wolfenstein.
great at it as well with the Metal Gear
Mm-hmm.
Solid games.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And the same,
Absolutely.
the
Fun.
Yakuza games has a lot of those small things as well.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, but anyway, so amazing game. I'm looking so much forward to it. It's gonna be, it's definitely, it's one of those games that I keep, and that's not. I mean, I am not. I'm pretty sloppy when it comes to that stuff. Like, there's a few things like Mass Effect, that series. I had that collection. It's now gone, unfortunately. But it's one of those things I could keep forever. The Last of Us got remastered for PS4, so I actually bought that and I replayed it for PS4. I mean, it's the same game, it's just higher fidelity, but it looked super good on the PS3 already. It looks amazing on the PS4, and it's if this one comes for the PS5, that might be a console seller, a platform seller to me. So that's
Yeah,
how
agreed.
much I like
Yeah,
this game.
I didn't even think of that actually, because it was first announced. What was it, like E3 2 years ago? I think.
Mm,
Like it was the last year that Sony was at E3, if I remember correctly, because they weren't there last year, right?
that's true.
Yeah, and they're not gonna be there this year either, which is kind of making me a little bit sad. But they hopefully will do the their show, whatever it's called. I kind of forgot. Um, but they have a thing kind of like Nintendo Direct. So hopefully they will do a really cool one of those for E3.
And you're getting me all excited now. I wasn't this excited. Now I want to have it now. I
Yeah.
said, when you hear about a game and there's 2 years to go, and then you kind of let it go for a while, and then.
Yeah,
But
dude, I've been waiting for Final Fantasy VII remake forever, and it was going to be released the 3rd of March this year, and just a couple of days ago, I got to hear that it's delayed, only until April. But still, it's like, my God, I've been waiting for this game forever, forever.
Oh no.
I've been waiting for this game before it was even announced, and but it's only a month, and I mean, I'm okay with them taking time now because it needs to be good once it hits the shelves. So
Yeah, that's the constant thing. It's always, oh, it got delayed, and people go like, why? But otherwise, if a game is released and it's not finished, as in citation mark finished, then that's a complaint. Why did they put out this unfinished game?
yeah, but I mean, people have been screaming about this game for I don't know how long. I remember they did a tech demo for showing off the PS3, if I remember correctly. So they recreated like some parts from the opening scene from Final Fantasy
Oh
VII,
wow.
and people been screaming about it since then, at least since then. So it's a pretty big deal that it's finally going to be released.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Just don't order it by postal. So that the postal service over here, as you know,
Yeah.
you're gonna have to wait another month.
Yeah. That's another fun thing. Me and Groove at the office, we've been waiting for a package that we ordered uh, the 18th of November. We still haven't gotten it.
Yeah, I'm not going to go into it, but I had something that I ordered, and it's I had to call in. It was like 90 people ahead of time, and they can't even tell me anything. And this is also a long, and you can't even get a tracking number, and it's like, no, yeah, we might release it next week when you get a tracking number, but then it has to go by physical mail to your mailbox, and then so it's just extra days. I don't understand. It's supposed to be digital, but it doesn't work. But anyway, so
Yeah,
moving on.
just a shout out to
Yeah.
a thing that happened to me during when was it? When I was writing about video games back in the day, and I was going to review a game called Super Monkey Ball 3D for the 3DS or something. And I actually got the game sent home to me, and when I opened it, the cartridge wasn't in the game. So somebody at the postal service had opened my Super Monkey Ball 3D game and taken the cartridge, and I have no. It's the weirdest thing ever.
That happened actually. We got a couple of those. We know that happened when I was at EA, especially with the games they're most sought after. It's like the FIFA's, like the first went out, and it was always people in the stores. They open it up and just pull the disc, so no one could know about it. And then so they had to go, for backup copies from the pressing company, the manufacturer of the actual discs, which had to, of course, claim it from EA. So it's always a loss. But it's always the
Yeah.
human that's opening it up and it's ripping it out. It's like,
Yeah, but I
yes.
mean, Super Ball Monkey Ball 3D.
Yeah, I hear you. It's crazy. If someone loved that game, obviously. So that's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
out of all games,
So
but yeah,
maybe someone's still sitting with that at home.
yeah, they're sitting,
Maybe
but they
we'll
didn't
hear
take the
this
box. They only
podcast.
took the cartridge. Yeah, if you hear this, bastard, give me my Monkey Ball 3D back.
Yeah, see, it would be cool if you're famous. You could just ask your fans to send you a couple of copies. Get bagged.
Actually, I got another copy after a while, so now I have two boxes, but only one cartridge.
Right. Yeah. Hey, yeah, we could do a whole podcast about that too. So, all valuable games, something like the, I don't know, was it Summer Olympics for the NES? It's worth thousands of dollars. But anyway, it's another story.
Yeah.
Super excited about the Last of Us 2, so I'm gonna get that. Now, just a final question. A final question. See, there was no pun intended. The,
Ooh.
I could say last question. There would be a pun too. But so Final Fantasy. So that's for you. That's for your PS4.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
that's coming out, or PS5. Okay.
No,
Yeah, not
it's for
PC. Not PC.
it's for PS4, and it's going to be exclusive for a while. I think a year or so. And I know that it's going to come out to Xbox as well, I think.
Yeah.
But it has a 1 year exclusivity deal, if I remember correctly.
Right.
So probably
That's
PC too.
also Yeah. That's also something that's interesting, and that most gamers, of course, don't like the exclusivity deals, but there are reasons behind those. It's the same kind of, it's a couple of dumb, or not so dumb, but it affects the consumer. One of them is this Tuesdays, and then like for example
You
US, and then
broke
they
out there for a second. Could you repeat that?
yeah, I'll repeat. Yeah, there's a couple of things that are annoying to the big
You
publishers just
broke
don't
out again.
talk.
Could you repeat that, please?
I will tell again. I think it's because it's my phone. Someone at work. How I'm doing a podcast at this workplace, spammy with stuff. But anyway, yeah, there's a few things that is annoying to the that is still happening, but it has reasons behind them. But the publishers aren't talking about it, and the reason, like one of the things is releasing on Tuesdays in the US, and then in Europe it's Thursdays, and then you have consumers saying, why are they getting it before we are? It's I want to. Well, it's a digital copy, right? But here's the thing, because the same copies are physical in a store, and the stores can't get them until certain days of the week, because these logistic companies around the world, they have their shipping routes, so they have to deliver on certain days certain things, because you can't outcompete like a retailer if you're selling games digital, not completely, because they also sell games for you, they advertise your games. So for Europe, at least some years ago, you had to wait until Thursday, because that's when the trucks could bring the shit into the stores. So that's one of the things. And then what was the second thing? Can't even remember. Oh yeah, exclusive. Can't talk. Exclusivity. Uh, there's going to be studios that are making deals with publishers, and that also goes, of course, to the platform, because Sony can go to Naughty Dog and say, guys, we want that game, and we want to only we don't want our competitor to have the game, and we're going to pay you for it. And of course, this can affect the consumer, but you have to understand that these companies, they sell to retailers first. They don't sell to consumers. There are nowadays, of course, you have online platforms like Origin where you buy digital things,
Or Epic.
but it's or Epic, but mostly it's not the same people that are marketing, that are developing. They're different areas of this, and they care about securing profit. It's better to secure a smaller amount of profit, a big one at the end. So
Excuse me,
if
you
Sony,
cut out there. Could you repeat that?
yeah, so the reason why this happens is because it's better for these companies to secure a certain amount of profit than to chance bigger profit, because you can forecast how the game is going to go and how much money you're going to put into marketing. So if Sony comes and say, we'll pay you $500,000 for this game for 1 year, most companies are going to take that before saying, no, we're going to go to Microsoft and we're going to release it there too, even though we don't really know how it goes. And that affects the consumer, but most companies don't sell directly to consumer. That's not the mindset. They sell to platforms to sell their games. Again, why a lot of these companies get bad rep, because they just don't handle customer support and they do these things. It's getting better, and to me, working as I have done, I would have preferred just trying to communicate this to the consumer and saying, we're doing this because of X, because I think it's just fair business. There are reasons behind it.
Yeah, I mean there is a lot of games also that never got out, and studios that died because of uncertainty, right? And this kind of, if you make a deal like that, at least you know that you will get something out of it, for sure.
Yeah, that's also a topic for a whole nother another podcast. So I'm
Oh
going to leave
yeah,
that for now.
like we should talk about like Grin, and we should talk about a lot of other stuff. There's a lot of podcasts to be made.
For sure. So summing it up for me, two cool games I'm gonna keep a lookout for. So how about you, Andreas? Let me know what you've been up.
I mean, 2020 is looking to be really good. I'm looking at the games coming out, and I mean, for me, obviously, I have my eyes on Final Fantasy VII, and also there is like Cyberpunk coming out. I'm really looking forward to that. But until then, I'm having my hands full with this new patch of Street Fighter V and some Samurai Showdown because now it's the off season. So in December, the king of Street Fighter V was crowned in IDOM because he won Capcom Cup. And then a new patch came out, so that means a lot of stuff is going to happen. And in March, the season starts again. And that means that's when you start going out. You go on the tour around the continent and you try to collect points. So even though it's the off season, it pretty much means now is the time you need to put the work down to understand what's going on. Because if you don't understand what's going on, you're going to go to a tournament and you're going to get hit by stuff you've never seen before and that you don't have any answers to. So they introduced new V skills to all characters, and there is currently 39 characters, and character number 40 is coming out in February. And it is a lot to study and understand. And while it's not only new V skills, and also V skills is it's kind of like a core mechanic. Um, so all characters has like a special move that builds the meter and stuff. And you can choose which kind of these core moves you want for your character. And sometimes you want one core move against one character, and you want another one of these V skills against another character. So you got to figure out what matchup you want to use what in. And while you do that, you also got to figure out, okay, how do I beat everybody else's V skill with this character? So and also they get changes for example, some characters that were considered too strong, they get some nerfs, right? So they try to balance the game, and other characters that were too weak, they get some buffs. Uh, and you have to predict, okay, which character is going to be the main pain in the ass this season. And for example, Abigail was kind of dead last season, and now he is looking very strong. So that's, for example, a matchup you gotta learn to be able to compete. And yeah, it's a lot of that stuff. So I've been
Can I ask
putting
you a
in the
question?
hours. Yeah, just
Yeah,
ask.
this is specific to that because I'm a competitive guy too, and I do track and field for old guys on the side, so I always enjoy the competitive side of things. Now, when you come to so say you know with all these new skills and you come into a tournament, is there a big discrepancy as in difference between the ones that are really good at that tournament with the new stuff and those that are bad, or is everybody sitting and being about the same? Is this like if you come in with a certain skill and then they add this stuff, do you see certain good players that become totally bad, or is it just small things that okay, no, they're already good, they're just tweaking in a little bit for this stuff, or does everybody put in
No,
as
like
much time?
the really good people. Usually, you can expect them for once to put in the time, so they will know probably. And the less good people, um, they usually don't have the fundamentals to compete against the really good people, so they will probably lose anyway. Like usually when you come up with some new stuff, there might be like these new gimmicks that you can understand. For example, like let's say something traditional, right? So you have Ryu's Hadouken, the fireball, right? Everybody knows that. So if you come into a tournament and he's just spamming this fireball and you just get hit, and every time you jump, he hits you in the air, and you're like, okay, this is impossible to beat. But it's not. Like there is a strategy how to beat those kind of stuff. And a really good player, they have such a fundamental understanding of the game that they can analyze a move pretty fast to understand, okay, this is a gimmick in some kind of way. And either if they don't find an answer to the gimmick, they can find an answer to how to avoid a situation where they can be exposed to this gimmick, for example. So usually the really good people they still prevail. But then when you go further on in the tournament and you're up against players with similar skill, then the smaller or the finer details can sometimes change who gets put in more advantageous situations. So the more advantageous situations you are in, the higher your chance of winning, of course. So then if they find a gimmick and they're like, ah, this person has not labbed this or like hasn't researched the answers to this stuff, then I'm gonna use that. And this is going to be my free way in to get some damage. So
Yeah, that's pretty. It's pretty interesting too. Like you're talking also about small strategic inclinations, as in not putting oneself in a situation where you are weak or where you have not where you maybe not certain, so you impose your game plan. As you know, this is a lot in the fighting game. Yeah, sorry, not fighting, in the fight game, as in MMA and boxing. So that's it's a lot of that strategy that you want to try to fight the fight and make the fight your fight. And same, it's the same when I played a lot of FIFA. It's the same thing. You don't want to end up in the situations where you might not be as strong, and you know where other people are might be weak. So you want to play to that as much as possible.
yeah,
You
exactly.
optimize your game constantly. Now, I with my sport, that's not really the same thing. Well, you it's more because I do sprints, so I don't go one to one with someone on my lane, but I can put myself in situations on tracks, in areas, times of the day, countries, situations where I perform better. So it's kind of the same thing. I think that's a championship mindset that you try to compete not only where but as much as you on your terms as possible with the characters you play against the characters, if you have any way of doing that, that you play strong against, or you play the things in the little meta game of every move and every frame. And I'm talking out of my ass a little bit here because I don't play the game, even though I'm better than you at the game, but that's a separate story. I'm just making it up. I'm sorry. It was just a joke. Internal joke. But anyway, no, so I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and like the easiest way to explain it, I think, is in fighting games you can either hit or you can throw someone, like just for the basic. So if someone is next to you, you have to guess, right? Okay, is this person gonna hit me or is this person gonna throw me? So how do you know? Well, you don't always know. Sometimes you gotta guess. So you're thinking, okay, but then this is pretty much just a game of rock, paper, scissors, right? But no, it's not, because there is the way, the understanding to how do I avoid getting into that situation, because you don't have to flip the coin if the person is never in the vicinity where it matters. So um, that's how, kind of like, you want to create the situations that are the best for you and your character against that character, where you are strong and that character is weak. And
Yeah, and you minimize chance, but and when chance happens, you try to make the most informed decision. And if it's a Twitch thing,
yeah,
then you're just gonna have to go for it, and hopefully as few times as possible.
yeah, exactly. And I mean, there is going to be like 50-50 situations, but those are usually the reward that the player gets for playing well. So if I play well against you, and then you have to guess in a situation, then I deserve that situation if it's a good game. Um,
We all know what would happen if you would play against me.
yeah, no. So, anyways, that's really on my regiment right now. It's just I'm putting in the hours to learn as much as possible before March 20th, because that's when I will be in Brussels and competing for the first time this
What's
year.
the competition?
It's going to be hopefully both in Samurai Showdown and it's going to be part of the Capcom Pro Tour. So it's the actual tour where you collect points and hopefully get to Capcom Cup in the
How
end.
many? How many of those are there? Like one over the year? A couple?
There is in Europe, I think there is about 7, and then you have about the same in Asia and in North America and South America. So
And then there's the final at some point.
yeah, in the end, and the final this year is going to be in Paris actually. So I'm gonna go there as well.
Amazing, amazing.
Yeah, first time.
So exciting.
It's always been in the U.S. as far as I know. So finally, it's going to be in Paris. So it's going to be fun and go and see it live. So if you're going to Brussels Major, this is called Brussels Challenge Major. Let me know and we'll meet up, play some games, and cheer for me, please. Um, so that's the 20th to 22nd, and then in May, we're actually having a CPT in Sweden as well, down in Malmö. So I'm gonna go there, and then the plan is to go to Cologne in Germany, and then Paris as
What
well.
date was that? Sorry, in Malmö?
It's in May. I think
Oh, in
it's
May.
the 12th or something like that.
Okay. I was just wondering because it would be funny if it coincides
What did you say? It would be funny.
end of February.
I'm sorry, I only heard end of February.
Right. No, it would be funny if it coincided with my old guy national championships in sprinting.
Yeah.
Because that's in Malmö as well in the end, but that's the end of February. So
Okay.
just then
Yeah,
I could
no,
compete in
it's
both.
so for me it's like yeah. No, for me it's gonna be May, March, May, and then I think this was in October, and then in December it's the last chance qualifier and the Capcom Cup at Paris. We're in Paris, so that's
All
the
right,
plan.
amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Sounds really good, and I hope you do well. We're
Thank you.
gonna definitely talk about that when we convene after that. Also, for Wasder, we got some cool stuff. Wasder.gg. We're gonna develop our platform into something really cool. We already have the web's starting to look good. We got. Here's the thing. I say GIFs. I'm gonna say GIFs. I don't care because I'm gonna do it anyway.
It's okay because it's called
Emojis.
GIFs.
There you go. Well, it depends on who you ask, but that's not go
If you
there.
ask the people, if you ask the people who are right, it's called GIFs. If you ask
High
the people
five.
who are wrong,
Yep.
they will say something else. So
Exactly. There we go. But anyway, we got some cool stuff coming up. We are talking right now about that we're going to be doing some really fun things with Discord, and I think that's going to be very appreciated by all you users, and so find some new ways to share content and manage things. So, but we'll talk about that in the next episode, hopefully. So, hope you had some, and we'll see you next time.
bye.
Bye bye.